Today we're going to talk about a new book called Kemet, Unlocking the Hidden Legacy of Black Egypt. And this is actually a beautiful book. The images in it are amazing, and there's some things that they share in here that I want to make sure that we take time to unpack. This book was written by Tawahi Boyas, a historian and author from South Africa. He is the founder of Nubian History Month and also the Institute for the Study of Ancient Civilizations in Africa. His passion is teaching people around the world about the ancient civilizations of Africa. So in this book, he talks about the ancient civilization of Kemet, otherwise known as ancient Egypt. But he talks about it from a different perspective. It's not like any other book on ancient Egypt that you have ever read. This one specifically focuses on the black roots of ancient Egypt, which is something that we need more of, more books being written from this perspective, from an African perspective. We need more books like this. And so if you're interested in learning about this topic, keep watching, because I am going to be sharing some of the knowledge that I gained from reading this book with you. Now let me just say this before we get into this. A lot of times when we talk about these ancient civilizations of Africa, people try to play it off like, oh, anything that had to do with Africa is not real, or it's not true, or it's not valid. And so, I just want to encourage you while you're watching this video, while you're listening to me speak, I want you to keep an open mind, because a lot of us have been brainwashed into believing certain narratives that we've been told about our own history. And so just keep an open mind, just listen to what is being said in this book. And I believe that after reading this book and hearing what's being said in here, it will change your perspective on ancient Egypt forever. So in this video, we're going to cover a few topics that are discussed in the book. And again, I'm just giving you guys a summary of this book. If you want to learn more, if you want to see the pictures, if you want to read more in depth, then get yourself a copy of Kemet, Unlocking the Hidden Legacy of Black Egypt. The first thing that I want to talk about is the myth of the White Nile and how that came to be. In the book, Tawahi Boyas says that the myth of the White Nile, having its source at the bottom of an ice lake fed by melting glaciers in the mountains of East Africa, is a relatively recent invention dating back no further than the late 19th century. He says that during the 1800s, European explorers were eager to claim the Nile as their own, and so they created a false narrative about the river's origins. When British explorer John Hanning Speke finally found the supposed source of the White Nile at Lake Victoria in 1862, he was so sure that he had discovered the very source of the river that he refused to listen to the local people who called the lake Nile and told him that it wasn't the true source. And this is the problem that we run into all the time when we're trying to study our own history. Africans weren't allowed to tell their own history. Our history has always been written by outsiders who didn't really know much about our history and our cultures. That's why there's so many discrepancies and lies in our history. And so we have to continue to dig deeper, go beyond what they've taught us, and uncover the truth for ourselves. In the book, it is also explained that the people who lived in Kemet were predominantly black people. Most people think that ancient Egyptians were Arabs because of the way that they draw them out in movies and stuff. You'll notice that they're always drawing them out as light-skinned people. People with blue eyes and white skin. And so most people believe that ancient Egyptians were Arabs or that they were white. But according to this book, and according to a lot of other research, ancient Egyptians were black Africans. Now, there were different races that came through and invaded Kemet, but the indigenous people of Kemet were black Africans. It is also explained in the book that most of the rulers of Kemet were not born in the region that we call Egypt today. The royal lineage traced their ancestry to a place called Yeb, which is in present-day Sudan. The royal family would move to a place called Napata, and then later on to Meroe, and they ruled over those places before moving on to rule over Kemet. So Kemet wasn't the first kingdom. There were other kingdoms before that, which the rulers of Kemet came from. And lastly, another thing that is discussed in this book is the fact that ancient Egypt was never a unified kingdom. It was made up of many different regions that were ruled over by different dynasties. The book explains that ancient Egypt was a collection of fragmented regions and chieftains, each vying for dominance over the others. Only when the ruler of one of these regions was able to unite several of them under his authority did they become known as the Egyptian kingdom. Also, ancient Egypt was never a monarchy. They had different types of governments, but they were never a monarchy. Another interesting thing that I learned from this book is that the black Africans who were living in Kemet were not actually called Egyptians. They called themselves KMT, which is where the word Egypt comes from. The name Egypt was given to them by the Greeks who came from the region of Greece. The Greeks were one of the many groups that migrated to North Africa, and the Greeks adopted the term Egyptians from the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians used the word KMT to refer to themselves, and KMT referred to the land of the black people. To the Greeks, the land of the blacks became Egypt. Ancient Egypt is considered to be the oldest civilization in the world. According to this book, the civilization began in the lower reaches of the Nile River, in a region known as Kemet, or Black Egypt. For thousands of years, the people of Kemet thrived in this fertile land, developing a sophisticated society with advanced technology and a rich culture. The people of Kemet developed a writing system, built magnificent pyramids and temples, and made great contributions to mathematics, science, and medicine. They believed that their pharaohs were divine, and they worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, including Ra, Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Despite their many accomplishments, the civilization of Kemet eventually declined. The reasons for their decline are not entirely clear, but historians believe that a number of factors contributed to their downfall. One of these factors may have been the changing course of the Nile River, which resulted in the loss of fertile land and resources. Additionally, the civilization of Kemet was eventually conquered by outside invaders, including the Nubians, the Assyrians, Persians, and Romans. Despite their eventual decline, the civilization of Kemet left behind a legacy that has lasted for centuries. Their pyramids and temples are still standing, and their contributions to mathematics, science, and medicine are still studied today. The civilization of Kemet reminds us of the power of human ingenuity and the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.